Big story coming in here on India Today. The Indian Air Force has demolished all lies around Operation Sindoor with a new video. And this video shows you how terror bases were dismantled in Pakistan. How air bases, one after the other, with the BrahMos supersonic cruise missiles going and demolishing not just the air bases, but the weapons that were used to bring down the Pakistani radar stations and air defenses. Take a look.
अटैक हुआ है नूर खान बेस पे।
Of Wednesday morning, missiles struck.
What an amazing video. What a spellbinding video that actually shows you the destruction across the border. The weapons that were used, and these weapons of war, whether you talk about the Rafales or the Su-30 MKIs, whether you talk about the MiG-29s or you talk of the Jaguar deep penetration strike aircraft, you saw some of these weapons on Kartavya Path, but what you're watching on your television screens right now is how on day one, on the moment India decided Pahalgam had to be punished, the manner in which 9 terror bases and headquarters were taken down, 2 by the Air Force, 7 by the Army at the LC, and for the first time ever in response to Pakistan's state-sponsored radical Islamist terror in Pakistan's Punjab province, crossing all red lines of Pakistan. This isn't hitting somewhere in POJK or even in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa like 2019. This was hitting in the heart of Pakistan's Punjab, in Muridke and in Bahawalpur. And the Pakistan Army chief who promoted himself to the rank of a field marshal, he was hiding in a bunker in Rawalpindi because even his capital, Islamabad, was not safe. Rawalpindi was not safe. Lahore was not safe. Bahawalpur were not safe. Joining me on this special broadcast, Air Marshal Vinod Bhatia, Veer Chakra and Bar, a gallant officer who's won a gallantry award both in the 1965 and the 1971 war, joins us on this broadcast. Former Air Officer Commanding-in-Chief, both of the Western Air Command and Central Air Command. Also with me is Major General Sanjay. Meston, General Meston was posted in Afghanistan, will tell us about the destruction that was caused in greater detail. But Air Marshal Bhatia, to you first. You've done this, Air Marshal Bhatia, in 65 and 71, winning a Veer Chakra. But tell me, sir, why is Operation Sindoor and this video so significant that shows destruction in Noor Khan, which shows destruction at Sargodha, at Rahim Yar Khan, at Jacobabad, at Bulari, and multiple other places? Air Marshal Bhatia, welcome.
First of all, hello, Gaurav. Great to see you again. And it's a great day. Today is the Republic Day. And we are celebrating the 77th Republic Day. It's, I think, appropriate time to talk about Op Sindoor a little bit. As you are mentioning, it was something which was very different from what we have been doing in the past. I take you back to 1965 and 71 that you had mentioned, in which I had personally taken part in the operations. Our war fighting at that time was somewhat different. We did not have the kind of standoff weapons that we have today in those days. So we had to actually go to the target, right to the target, and get into attacks with our bombs and rockets. But today, the entire this thing is different. And therefore, the Indian Air Force is capable of actually carrying out devastating air-to-ground attacks against enemy targets from what we
And when
call
you look at this
standoff
video,
ranges.
Air Marshal, when you look at this video, when you look at those majestic 4.5 generation Rafales, when you look at those huge beasts, the Su-30 MKIs with their air-launched BrahMos supersonic cruise missiles, there is nothing that Pakistan or even other adversaries have that can counter this platform, this system with their beyond visual range. Even though Pakistanis have their PL-15s fired off the the JC-10s, which they did, but they have nothing, the J-10Cs, but they have nothing that can counter the Rafale and the Su-30s, can they?
Early in the hours of
Well, yes, actually, it's a weapon. I'm talking about the BrahMos missile. As you know, it has got a standoff ranges right up to 450 kilometers in air-to-ground mode. And it carries a good punch in the warhead that it has to be able to cause the necessary damage on the ground. So this air-to-ground weapon, which Indian Air Force has got today, and it is manufactured, as you know, in India, joint this thing with Russia and named BrahMos. BrahMos is as you know, is a joint name for Brahmaputra and Moskva River. And it's a very, very potent weapon. And that is what was used during Operation Sindoor, where the Air Force, Indian Air Force aircraft, the fighter aircraft, used these weapons staying outside the ranges. That means from standoff ranges, they were able to attack their targets. And the best part is that this air-to-ground missile is so potent, it's also equally accurate. And it can
Absolutely,
actually
with
find its
pinpoint
target.
accuracy, flying at 2.8 times the speed of sound, 2.8 Mach is what the BrahMos supersonic cruise missile went and hit those Pakistani bases. The drones that were used, General Meston, the kind of weapons that were used, we saw some of these weapons at Kartavya Path today, but then we've been privileged to see them in action in war, in Operation Sindoor, and how they decimated Pakistani terror camps, Pakistani radar stations, and 11 Pakistani air bases, General Meston.
Yeah, Gaurav, Jai Hind, and happy Republic Day to you and to our fellow countrymen. I think as Air Marshal Bhatia brought out amply clear, India has achieved solid impact during Operation Sindoor, and this is the first Republic Day after Operation Sindoor. And I think the Indian Air Force and the Indian Army, of course, the Navy was not used, their presence itself was a great deterrence to Pakistan, but the Indian Air Force and the Indian Army, and rightly pointed out that 7 of the terror camps we struck and 2 were struck by the Air Force. And I think the deciding factor was finally on 10th May, when the Indian Air Force blew up so many of their air defense systems, their radars, and of course, a lot of the airfields. And that was the
And over the course of the next half hour, we shall explain to our viewers, because now you have greater detail about what happened during Operation Sindoor, because all the lies that Pakistan narrated, lies can get thus far and no further. The truth ultimately triumphs, the truth ultimately prevails. I will tell you more, but first, once again, listen in to the Indian Air Force telling you that we are very calm, we are laid back until you hit us, because if you dare to hit us, we will hit back and hit back hard and fire for effect. Take a look.
early in the hours of Wednesday morning, missiles struck.
अटैक हुआ है नूर खान बेस पे.
Marshal Bhatia, the tri-services tableau that we saw today, how beautifully it had depicted the losses in Pakistan, from the hangars to the air bases to the runways to the terror camps to the missile defense system and their radars that just went on to show that between the 6th and then 10th, when Pakistan ultimately sought a ceasefire, Pakistan was virtually naked when it came to their air defense system, and especially when India was able to punch holes through their air defenses. But sir, explain to us the importance of Noor Khan Air Base that we can hear in this Air Force video that says Noor Khan pe bum aakar gira hai. Why is Noor Khan so important in Rawalpindi?
Well, as you know, Noor Khan basically is a base which is very close to their heart, Islamabad and Rawalpindi. And that is a base which also is supposed to have their nuclear weapons. So it is a very, very important base as far as the Pakistani Air Force is concerned, or the entire establishment is concerned. And therefore, to be able to attack this base, as I mentioned earlier also, that today the entire system has changed, and we are able to attack these bases and these targets deep inside from standoff ranges. And the weapons that we have today are capable of doing it from ranges in excess of 300 kilometers or so. So therefore, they get that accuracy, and therefore we have the targets coordinates with us, we have the targets pictures with us, and we can actually take them on. And that is what was done during Operation Sindoor. And as you mentioned yourself, how Indian Air Force was able to actually target their hangars, their runways, and their other installations, and also to be able to actually, as we said, ground their air defense system. As a matter of fact, we didn't even have to do that because the missiles that we used, or the Air Force used, had the kind of range and speed, 2.8 Mach, very difficult to intercept. And they were able to get through.
And what India is now making, that anti-ship missile, which is 10 Mach, 10 times the speed of sound, and that's a hypersonic missile. We'll talk about that in greater detail later on the show, General Meston. But right now, I want to focus on this particular video that the Indian Air Force has put out today, because that message, if Noor Khan, their main command and control center, is not safe, if Sargodha and Air Marshal Bhatia, the Indian Air Force had bombed Sargodha in 1965 and 71, their main airfield, which is more than 200 kilometers deep inside Pakistan. General Meston, that just goes on to show the capabilities of the Indian Air Force, that with standoff weapons, an S-400 was able to take down an AEW&C, Airborne Early Warning Command and Control aircraft, that Saab Air 320 kilometers inside Pakistan. That just goes on to show the capabilities we have today.
Yeah, absolutely, Gaurav. We have tremendous capabilities, and the acquisition of all these Air Force platforms, I think, has done the needful. And Rafale's 4.5 generation Rafale, they have made the difference. And of course, Sukhoi also carried the BrahMos missile. And as Air Marshal pointed out, we have today got the capabilities to fire the weapons from the standoff distance, and that's a tremendous advantage. But at the same time, air-to-air combat and dogfights actually have not been seen, because none of the aircraft either side had to cross the border. But the precautions we have to take is that today the enemy and we have the capabilities to lash on air-to-air missiles, and therefore these missiles, the necessity is to be cautious, and therefore we have the stealth fighters, and we have to maintain the appropriate distance, and that is how these standoff weapons were fired, I think over Delhi or something of that sort. But the destruction done was colossal, and Noor Khan base also happens to be next to the GHQ, and the beauty is that their command control center, and as rightly pointed out, the airborne early warning AVAC system was also based there, and that was also damaged. And if you recollect,
in any civilized country, Air Marshal Bhatia and General Meston, stay with me. In any civilized country, the army chief, if 9 terror headquarters, including breaching Pakistan's biggest red line, which is hitting them in Pakistan's Punjab province, if that happened again and again and again and again, can you imagine? So first, Muridke and Bahawalpur were hit. Then their air defenses were hit, Pasroor, Chunian. Then their bases were hit. Then Rawalpindi was hit, then Lahore was hit, then Bahawalpur was hit. Rafiqi, Rahim Yar Khan, Sargodha, Sakkar, Bholari. And he promotes himself to the rank of a field marshal. Air Marshal Bhatia, this just defies logic. He should have been court-martialed, cashiered and sent home. And he became a field marshal. Pakistan just shows what a crazy country it is. And that is why for the Pakistani people to know, they must know how badly India hit them.
Well, I would not like to comment as to what it is, but yes, it is rather unbelievable how a person can be elevated to the rank of a field marshal after what happened in Operation Sindoor. But it is none of our business and we should not even worry about it. But the fact is, what is it that is the capability that we were talking about we have today, and we have to nurture it and we have to improve upon it to make sure that we are able to actually protect our interests as far as we are concerned. Now,
very pertinent point you make, and perhaps that would indicate the more aircraft that we require and why Atmanirbhar Bharat in defense is so important. But on the point that you two made, and I want to lead from that, Operation Sindoor, it didn't just shape the battlefield. That vision, that story that inspired the entire country and the world is today talking about it was also visible for all on the 77th Republic Day on Kartavya Path. So as the nation marked 77 years of the growth of our republic, the parade was a declaration of Atmanirbhar Bharat, of strength, of synergy, tri-services synergy, and zero tolerance for Pakistan state-sponsored radical Islamist terror. And this year, the spotlight, very rightly, belonged to that message. India will strike back, India will strike hard, and India will strike for effect. Take a look.
And now comes the Tri-Services tableau of Indian Defence Forces depicting Operation Sindoor. Victory through jointness.
On top of the Kartavya Path, you can see the Sindur formation.
Operation Sindoor, a strike that still instills fear in the heart of enemies and shakes Pakistan to the core. Months after the operation that decimated terror hubs in Pakistan,
Formation led by...
it was time to showcase India's Desi arsenal to the world.
Kartavya Path now is...
The occasion was special, 77th Republic Day. Operation Sindoor tableau on Kartavya Path highlighted India's firm resolve against terror and preparedness to crush any threat.
Counteraction.
The Tri-Service Op Sindoor tableau showcased India's joint operation capability with the message, victory through unity. The spotlight then was firmly on BrahMos, the supersonic cruise missile known for its speed, precision, and devastating strike capability. The world saw its might when India avenged Pahalgam terror attack and razed Pakistan terror bases and airfields. Not only attack capability, but India also displayed its air defense system that destroyed Pak missiles and drones.
Captain Animesh Rohela of the 344
Akash and Abra missile systems rolled past as key pillars of protection during the Republic Day parade.
Air Defense Missile Regiment.
The aerial flypast, one of the most eagerly awaited events of the parade, featured 29 aircrafts, including 16 fighter jets, 4 transport aircrafts, and 9 helicopters.
Colonel Vijay Pratap Sena Medal.
Rafales, MiG-29s, Sukhoi 30 MKIs, and Jaguar fighter jets that proved their prowess during Operation Sindoor were part of the famed Op Sindoor formation.
This is a moment of proud and honor. मैंने बचपन में देखा था when I was like her. उस समय मैं बहुत इंस्पायर हुआ था जब मैंने फ्लाई पास देखा था और मैं आज भी उतना ही इंस्पायर हुआ हूँ जब मैंने फ्लाई पास देखा है.
जे विभिन्नता में एकता जो है, हमारा कल्चरल प्रोग्राम भी हुआ और पैरेड भी हुआ, झांकी भी हुआ, वो सबसे बढ़िया लगा.
This Republic Day parade was a reminder to the world. India defends its sovereignty decisively and unitedly. A fitting Republic Day muscle flex after Operation Sindoor. With Shivani Sharma at Delhi's Kartavya Path, Bureau Report, India Today.
Over the skies of the Kartavya Path.
Let me now get you more evidence, and this is coming at an international level, of how India was able to slam Pakistan during Operation Sindoor. Pakistan can lie. Pakistan's lies can get itself thus far and no further. A Swiss military think tank has come out with a detailed report on the 88-hour, 4-day-long conflict in May 2025. And this is an independent analysis by a Switzerland-based think tank. It's a military think tank. Observation 1. Indian Air Force dominated the skies. This was their observation. 2. Pakistan was compelled. Pakistan was forced to seek a ceasefire. Observation number 3. Pakistan lost the capacity for effective counter operations. That's a very big point that's being made. So, whatever happened on the 10th of May, Pakistan realized its Air Force was completely grounded on the 10th of May. Observation number 4. India's air defense, and this is where we talk about the integrated air defense system, the Akash Tir system. You talk about the surface-to-air missiles, whether you have the Zu-23, these are Second World War weapons, to the L-70s, to the Akash short-range surface-to-air missiles, the MR-SAMs, the long-range surface-to-air missiles, including the S-400 system, that incidentally for the first time ever was used in an offensive role to bring down a Pakistani aircraft 320 kilometers deep inside Pakistan. So India was able to neutralize Pakistan's air force completely. Then it goes on to say there is absolutely no evidence of any damage whatsoever to an S-400 air defense system. A very key observation is key Pakistani air bases were rendered inoperative. That's a very important part. And let me, with great delight, tell you, these included their main command and control center called Noor Khan. It included Rahim Yar Khan that remained out of operations because this is where a BrahMos supersonic cruise missile went and hit right at the cross-section of a runway that all sides of the runway were rendered unoperational. Then Sargodha and Air Marshal Bhatia in a moment will tell us the significance of hitting Sargodha more than 200 kilometers deep inside Pakistan. Yes, it was done in 65 and 71, but doing it in 2025 was very, very significant because you hadn't crossed the international border. Observation number 7, and very crucial observation, is India achieved both its political aim and its military aim. Very significant. The politico-military aim to punish Pakistan's state-sponsored radical Islamist terror, and when Pakistan escalated trying to target our military installations, to punitively carry out strikes, to carry out punitive strikes in Pakistan, which would serve as a deterrent that do not dare escalate. That message was sent out, and Pakistan was literally, like in 1971, caught with its pants down. Observation number 8, India maintained operational dominance throughout this 88-hour-long conflict. I once again want to bring in Air Marshal Bhatia. Air Marshal Bhatia, this is a Switzerland-based think tank which has come up with these observations. Do you concur with them that India had total air domination by the 10th of May and that Pakistan was repeatedly seeking a ceasefire? In fact, some reports seem to indicate that Pakistan had moved whatever assets remained to safer bases in the rear along the AFPAC bases.
Actually, Gaurav, if you really look at it and if you dissect it technically, we all know that it was not a declared war between India and Pakistan. That is number one. Number two is that none of them actually crossed the international borders into each other's airspace as such. Number three is that the Indian Air Force had the capability, as you have mentioned, and you have shown to all our readers on the screen, how their bases and various other installations were attacked by the Indian Air Force from a standoff Mark III missiles and without crossing the international border. So this is something which happened perhaps for the first time in the India-Pakistan context. So there was no official war declared, there was no crossing of the border, but the damage was caused and they were brought to heel. And they had to ask for ceasefire, as you mentioned, to stop this. Otherwise, they would have suffered many more losses. So this is something that we have to actually learn from this particular thing, and we have to make sure that we build on this. Here, I'll take the opportunity to bring out to you that Indian Air Force did very well, but at the same time, we must know that our fighter strength is actually coming down. We are supposed to have 42 squadrons for a two-front war, but we are down to about 30 squadrons or even less right now. Therefore, it is incumbent on everybody's part in India to move ahead, with, I would say, with guns blazing, to be able to build up of fighter force to the desired levels so that we maintain that operational edge that we have shown and proved time and again.
You're absolutely right, because the stronger you are, the more you will deter the adversary. If you are strong, he dare not try and target you. When you're perceived to be weak, even when you're perceived to be weak, General Meston, that's the time the adversary may think that this is a country of pacifists and they will turn the other cheek. And as India's civilizational knowledge shows us, it is not the meek that shall inherit the earth, but it is Veer Bhogya Vasundhara. It is the brave who shall rule the earth, General Meston, and that Operation Sindoor has very clearly shown us.
Absolutely, Gaurav. Operation Sindoor has sent a very clear-cut message to Pakistan. It has instilled fear in the hearts and minds of the Pakistan armed forces. There is no denying of the fact. And I think the Switzerland-based think tank has given out very appropriate comments. And the last one was that we have achieved a politico-military objective. And Pakistan had to, surrender after the Air Force had done the operations on 10th of May. That has actually brought them to the news, and this is despite the fact Indian Navy was not used at all. Imagine the damage we would have done to Pakistan if the Navy front was opened up. So Pakistan has realized that India is not going to accept terrorism the way we have been accepting in the past, and now we have set a new normal. Pakistan Army, the perpetrators of terrorism, are a legitimate target. And we have even called off the nuclear bluff. That is something, which they were taking.
Very pertinent. Pakistan's nuclear bluff has been called out. It was called out, of course, when India carried out a surgical strike post-Uri, when it carried out an airstrike in Balakot post-Pulwama, and of course, Operation Sindoor, that incidentally still remains on. That is the signal that India sends out. Operation Sindoor is still on. It's only the brave who are respected when you can instill fear in the minds of the adversary. And this is one country that only understands, which is Pakistan, is the language of fear. A quick break. I want to thank my guests. It is all not well across the China wall. US media reports claim that a top Chinese army general stands accused of leaking highly sensitive state secrets and nuclear weapons related secrets to the United States of America, to the CIA. The reports in the United States claim that there are serious bribery allegations that are currently underway under investigations in China against one of the senior most generals and members of the military commission, the Central Military Commission in China, General Zhang. General Zhang is second only to Chinese President Xi Jinping, one of the top generals in China, and he was at one point of time described as one of the most trusted allies of Xi Jinping. However, many argued that there is friction in China. There are two camps. Xi Jinping may appear all-powerful, but there is another camp that is talking about too much centralization of power in the hands of President Xi Jinping. Remember those images of Hu Jintao, former president of China, the way there were some top officials who were, he and top officials, the way they were ushered out of a meeting, the way there was a crackdown. India Today had reported how 100 generals had been purged by President Xi Jinping as he consolidated his control over power. And in midst of that, there were reports that seemed to indicate that there could well be a coup against him. At least that is what some of these reports seem to indicate. So Beijing has not officially confirmed these claims, but the fallout is significant. And questions are mounting over the PLA, People's Liberation Army, the Chinese army's readiness, their military readiness, their loyalty to Xi Jinping and command integrity. Does this indicate that China's efforts in Taiwan have suffered a very major setback, 2027 or 2028, or maybe it will have to be pushed back further? The Defense Ministry announced on Saturday that both General Zhang and Liu Zhenil, Chief of Staff of CMC's Joint Staff Department, were currently under investigation. Then there's an editorial that's published in the People's Liberation Army Daily that said General Zhang and Liu seriously betrayed the trust and expectations of the Communist Party and the CMC and fostered political and corruption problems that undermined the party's absolute leadership over the military and threatened the party's ruling foundation. I want to bring in my colleague Pranay Upadhyay for more on this. Pranay, these are very grave charges leveled against someone who was second only to Chinese President Xi Jinping in the military commission, that the party's ruling foundation was impacted by corruption and challenges to absolute party leadership.
Absolutely, Gaurav. Whether these charges are actually result of a spying ring, or actually this is a result of a power rivalry in the all-powerful Central Military Commission of China. But certainly this is the chink in the shining armor of Chinese or Beijing's the military leadership. This clearly shows General Zhang Yaoshi, who's the 75-year-old senior-most general, currently serving as the vice chairman in the Central Military Commission. And besides that, you mentioned about the name of Lieutenant General Ji, who's also a senior military official. Clearly, this shows that there is something wrong in the Central Military Commission, and which is under investigation. And the charges are very serious. If you go by the media reports, this shows that these people are being implicated for selling the nuclear secrets of China to United States. This clearly shows that there is infiltration, or rather there is the information leakage from the Central Military Commission of China. This also shows that something is wrong at the highest leadership level, because General Zhang
at the highest leadership level, as you point out, and very significantly, because General Zhang was once considered very close to President Xi Jinping. Then there was this talk of two rival factions within the Communist Party. There was anger over centralization of power by President Xi Jinping, and that there was an intense pushback. But this downfall, this sudden downfall, this in a way marks the most serious, most dramatic move against a top general, even though India Today had carried that report on Chakravyuh that 100 generals, and that's amazing in any country's history. If 100 generals have been purged in China, that would indicate that President Xi Jinping wants to be all-powerful, but somehow he doesn't seem to have the trust and confidence of those he commands.
Absolutely, and we have seen not only the senior generals were removed at the time when President Xi Jinping wanted to consolidate his position. Even at the political level, we have seen that how the premier Li Keqiang was relieved, and in fact he was succeeded by the all loyalist Li Qiang, who is currently serving as the premier of China, and how he closed the ring, how he plays the trusted people. But if General Zhang Yaoshi is being implicated, as you also mentioned, that he was once considered as the most trusted guy, one of the senior official of the Central Military Commission. Then these are the serious question to be pondered upon upon in the leadership of China that, if they are being implicated, then either the CIA, if the allegation CIA has penetrated their senior military system, and if they are able to extract information,
or there is
and
an
that to the
intense
sensitive
power
nuclear
struggle within China, it would indicate, Pranay, that there's an intense power struggle, and blame corruption or blame selling secrets to CIA and then purge them. Massive purge that's been on in China. Pranay, keep tracking that story. I will come back to you for more as the story develops. This will remain one of our top focus stories here on India Today. A massive purge in the Chinese army. Of course, there are also reports that seem to indicate that even soldiers, they want loyalty to the country and not loyalty to the party, as the case is in China. But more on that in the days and weeks ahead. That is all I have for you on this 5 Live special broadcast. Many thanks for watching.